So you guys were looking at the state of Europe for the years 2024 to 2025, so near future. Describe how the Ukraine-Russian war affects the power structure in Europe, and describe how the Ukraine-Russian war concludes. Let's have Edward go first here.
Okay, very intense. The session was intense. Now I know why. Very intense tasking here. In a short period of time, an instant, a brief moment, something happens very fast. There's a focus on this brief moment in time. But what happens, though, I wonder? Is it like a crash or this kind of boom or something colliding like this? Something comes in and happens, an event, like something dropping or falling and people fighting each other. And there's chaos, there's a chaotic scene, there's a disruption, and it feels militant, like military people are there as well. It's not a good scene, and they're clashing, but wondering why. What's this all about? A disagreement between two sides feels like a warring faction, two sides at war with each other. The differences are at that scale, meaning big war. Is there a solution for them? Well, it's kind of like the tasking. Is there a solution for these people? But the notion was not at this stage. The fundamental beliefs are too different, and the only solution they see is to overcome the opposition. It's like a religious level of incompatibility. And I say that is true between Russia and Ukraine. People are pushed outside. It was just like this red line here. A mob of actors like Antifa is brought in to cause problems. And I had to wonder, is this like an election related thing? But there was this red line and there were these actors there, or instigators or problem creators. There are more people and they are being moved along out of harm's way from this chaos scene here. This is an area with a lot of people, a place or event. And I saw all these people here. There are people on both sides. And looks like a street scene with people running as well. All these people here in the streets. Damn, I needed a drink after that session. I needed a drink after going over the session.
Yeah, lots of relevant stuff in there, Edward. Thank you. Yeah, really interesting.
Whew, man.
Let's have Naim go next.
Feeling here is like sweating outside, being in the sun, physical work. They feel like they have a duty or responsibility, like future generations are going to depend on what they're doing. They feel obligated in this situation. It feels like a new start, like they have to start from scratch, sowing the seeds of the future, like finding prime land or real estate, and now new work, like the work begins now. It's a daunting task. They need guidance, even the sense of like guidance from God. Here, I got a sense of like rumbling and shaking and splitting. I don't know if that's maybe metaphorical, but the sense of like two sides splitting or separating from each other, a division or a split, two sides kind of like rapidly repelling from each other. I mean, it kind of reminded me of earthquake, but it could also be the sense of these two different groups.
I really felt like the metaphor coming through. In fact, one of the sketches you drew was almost identical to Edward's with the people on both sides.
Again, people kind of like toiling in the fields, like a sense of sustainability, having to like kind of go back to agriculture and harvesting food and kind of living a more basic style of life.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, that was interesting because maybe we can have Derek go next because there was some underground aspects that came up. I don't know if the elite are building bunkers and or what, but there was like this that theme kind of came up as well. Derek, you want to go next?
But I see fighting, and the way this scene evolved, the first thing I see is I'm like standing right here at eye level, and these guys come out with guns and they run right past me and they're ready to engage and fight. There's a fence, they open the gate and they are like just springing to attack. So I see fighting, anarchy resulting from scarcity of resources, food, services, utilities, mayhem ensues, young combatants, guns, and they're wearing like wetsuits, like neoprene, like almost futuristic or something. It just seemed a little bit weird to me. And then on the outside of the fence, like who they're running to are martyrs, potential hostages. They're out there destroying peace. They're angry. There's a lot of aggression, hand-to-hand combat, lots of fighting, and that's both men and women fighting. Feels post-apocalyptic or a war-torn region. People taking shelter anywhere. There's trash everywhere. But on a positive note, people coming together in smaller groups to assist those in need. They're not starving, but they're struggling for food. And I see somebody, a guy with unkept hair, a beard, you could mistake him for homeless, but it didn't have a homeless feel. I think he was just like not in a good place in life. And he was eating something, like I said, not starving, but they're struggling for food. And with him was a hungry child, and they were both eating. Event involving brief disruption of supply lines, damage like a natural disaster, but man-made, prompted, manipulating neutrinos. These are things that I heard. So manipulating neutrinos, seeing circuitry and like a green motherboard from in a computer.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, there's a silver lining to some of the doom and gloom there. So thank you. Daz, let's go through your session.
Okay there. So I start off here with a big energy thing. Loud pounding energy event, very noisy and wide and above ground. And it felt like it was a dispersal. Felt very energetic and life affecting and very damaging. So I tried to refocus on the target, and I kept getting this energy again. So it does feel like as part of the real target, there might be some kind of a big impacting energy event, which is not natural. So I tried to regroup again, restart, and again I kept getting this descending oppressive energy. But I just felt like the whole thing was all to do with influence and manipulation. I felt like a religious or something like an underlying reason for all this. Felt like they had a doctrine or a way of thinking that was agreed upon. And it was a very long-term plan. And I tried to describe the men here. They're older, they're professional, they're important. They come from different fields, but they're all connected. And they come from different locations. And an AOL here of Vatican kind of influence. But it was all about control, manipulation with an end goal. So I asked what here, and I had the impression that something is coming. Feels close. Plans are being made for this, and it's an upheaval and change, lots of change. They're preparing for it, so there's preparedness. And then I got feels like I have no idea what that word is. Shelters, feels like shelters. So they're building shelters to prepare. That's what it is. Yep. It's going to have global effects. It's going to be very destructive, but they will be below, so they're going to be in their shelters. This is a future event. It's known about and it's planned for. They have foreknowledge. They've built structures. They've got resources and they've planned for this. I don't feel they cause it, but they know it's coming and they're actually using it. I tried to work out how, and it's all about control for a new order. So something's coming, very destructive globally, a big global event with land destruction all across the surfaces, and it's planned for and countered for with their survival. And they got these arcs.
Yeah, very, very ominous there, Daz. Thank you. So Dick's video presentation will be appended to this debrief video, so our subscribers will be able to see that.
I did a paper session, and I'm going to just present my paper session drawings and just expand a little bit as we look at it and interpret what I think I saw here.
I'm going to go ahead and share the feedback slides here with the analysis. And so again, your guys' sub-Qs were to describe how the Ukraine-Russian war affects the power structure in Europe. And you had a lot of data in there that really is relevant to everything that's going on and potentially will be going on. And then we asked you to look at how the war concludes with Russia and Ukraine. And it looks like it's not not necessarily boots on the ground fighting, which there was some of that. Seems like there's more of like this. So is there something more going on? I don't know. You guys had a lot of really relevant data that seems to suggest that there's some sort of an energetic event coming. There's going to be a disruption in the supply chain. People that have the ability to do so are going to possibly be taking care of themselves in bunkers. So what are your guys' thoughts? I thought this was really interesting to go through.
But looking at all the data from everyone, because everyone else is getting similar kind of overlapping data, I don't really want to say this, but I would say that the data to me indicates that there could quite possibly be some kind of big nuclear or explosive event in the next 2 years, especially with all the tunnels, shelters, people foraging for food, digging up, looking for food kind of situation.
Yeah, and I know that this was a little bit more of a it was a more vague target, right? Looking at the whole state of Europe with this big war that's going on, there's so many things you guys could have focused on. So
Yeah.
this was more of a challenging target for you guys, but you pulled it off. You got really good data here, but
But if there is a
that's
nuclear
my
event, then it would affect the whole of Europe in that way that we've described,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? So
Yep.
that's what it look. I have to be honest. That's what it looks like to me. A nuclear event that causes all the things that we described.
Like
Well, it
that.
could be an EMP, couldn't it? And that could be just as damaging.
Let's take the no mushroom clouds as a good sign here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as I said, if it's an EMP, they usually use an above ground low yield nuclear explosion. So you don't really get the nuclear damage, but you get the the EMP that destroys all electronics for a wide dispersal area. So
Right.
could be something like that.
Well, one of the things that was interesting in mine is that when the whatever happens, the boom happens. It's like a crash or something dropping or falling, and then people are fighting. To me, that seems like something economic or food-based supply, something like that.
But that would
Fuel-
happen with an EMP explosion because there would be no delivery. There would be nothing.
It,
No cars
it
would work or anything.
it would, but we didn't really get anything like that though.
Well, we did.
Who got a big mushroom cloud of a nuke going on?
You wouldn't get a mushroom crag with a EMP nuke.
Well,
'Cause
who got an EMP in this? Did you have EMP in your session?
I had a above ground dispersal of a big energy event throughout my entire RV session. I think
Did
I saw it in some of your guys as well.
I hope not. All I can say is I hope that
Yeah.
does not happen.